So we're checking in from Czechia. Welcome to Prague, where the countdown is really on ahead of Thursday's huge World Cup playoff showdown against the Czechs on Thursday night. Joined by Aidan Fitzmaurice, we're both after travelling here to the Czech capital ahead of the game. Aidan, bumping into fans in Dublin Airport and our various connections throughout the day. One thing that really struck me was the amount of younger faces, the amount of faces possibly on their second or third away trip. And it really struck me on the way just how, thinking back to Ireland's last World Cup playoff 9 years ago, I was just on my leaving cert a couple of months, and you fast forward now almost a decade, and I suppose there's a whole generation of Irish fans who haven't had a trip like this. I suppose like Euro qualifiers are great, the crack is good, and World Cup qualifiers are great, but there's nothing really like a World Cup playoff, and you can really feel the atmosphere building towards Thursday.
A playoff. The other playoffs we've had, most of them have been 2 legs. So at least if you didn't do it in the first one, Iran, for example, Ireland, lost the second leg but got through. Anfield in '95 was a one-off. This one is a little bit different, and I suppose, as you said, a lot of those fans haven't seen that before. There's a real mixture of fans on certainly my flight in from Frankfurt. A lot of the fans now, I think they were the public transport system here, if you're over 60 you get free travel, so some of the lads were wondering if they can get the free travel. So the public transport here is cheap. It's even cheaper obviously if you get the free travel. Those younger generation, and look, we've been here for a few hours already today. It's Tuesday evening. A lot of the fans have been here for a few hours, and everyone's looking for tickets. Look, we know that we've got just over 1,000 tickets. Capacity is 19,000. So over the next couple of days, I think today and tomorrow is about kind of bedding in, finding the way around Prague, finding the good spots. But then Thursday is when it'll get nervous, when people realise that they're not going to be in the stadium. Home of Slavia Prague, called Eden is its nickname. They're not going to be there. They're going to be in one of the many Irish pubs in here in Prague, but they're going to have a good time. Look, the sun is shining, the beer is cheap. Worse places to be than Prague in March. Well, a lot worse places to be.
I put up a post the other day just calling out to fans to get in touch if they are travelling over to Prague with their stories, trains, planes and automobiles, and well, half them just got back to me asking for tickets. It just shows you the demand. Like apparently 5,000, maybe 6,000 Irish fans coming over. That's only 1 in 6 Irish fans with a ticket, which is incredible really. Just on the flight over, I was connecting through Amsterdam, got chatting to a fella from Cork who through a cousin's relative who's actually Czech, she was able to get 6 hospitality tickets, not just home end tickets, hospitality tickets.
So the posh seats,
So the posh seats. So from his point of view, he was telling me that apparently the demand wasn't like they didn't sell out straight away. So his relative was able to get 6 hospitality tickets, and I suppose his biggest worry was what's he going to do when Ireland score? He's going to have the jersey on, put the jacket over so no one can see, and he'll have to be careful when he celebrates. Of course, there was another fellow I bumped into from Dublin who's actually studying in the Netherlands. He hopped on the flight over with me, but kind of similar story, loads of lads going over, none of them with tickets, but just want to be here for an occasion that we haven't had for 9 years.
But I think they'll find is it's quite relaxed here, and look, it'll get tense coming up to kick-off time, but a lot of the times Irish fans, with club teams in particular travelling away, it's very strict. I was in Athens with Shamrock Rovers last year when Shamrock Rovers fans were not allowed to travel to the AK Stadium on their own. They had to go to an assigned meeting point, they had to get on a bus, they had to be escorted there in a convoy and leave the same way. I think similar for Shelbourne when they were in North Macedonia. There doesn't seem to be any of that. I think if this was England or possibly another nation here in town, but the Czechs do seem quite laid back about it. I was in the stadium for the Prague derby 2 weeks ago, and I could see it's not far out from the city. There's a lot of bars and pubs around the area. There's a whole kind of concourse around where you can get a burger, you can get a kebab, you can get a pint. It's quite relaxed. So I think the Irish fans who are here, that tension will be trying to get tickets, but if you haven't got a ticket, just find a bar somewhere and watch it.
Like, incredible demand for tickets, but an incredible demand for an actual spot for those 5,000 Irish fans to actually watch the match. Like, I think the Irish supporter liaison officer was kind of recommending to get there early. It's a 8:45 local time kickoff here on Thursday, and there are a lot of Irish bars in Prague, but there's not enough to cater for 5,000 fans hoping to get a spot to watch the game.
There's enough bars. It doesn't have to be an Irish bar. There's enough bars in Dublin. One thing I would say, I've been here again doing some research, so unfortunately spending time in pubs, but some of the older bars in the Old Town are cash only, so any fans travelling, if they're watching this, just have a few Czech crowns in the pocket, because some of the old, I'm thinking of places in Dublin like your Nearys, your Grogans, or places like that, they're still cash only. So have have some paper money in the wallet.
That was Panenka's recommendation, was it?
Yeah, it did beat Panenka the other week. Yeah, but no, it is still that kind of contrast here with some of the newer bars. And look, a lot like any city, a lot of Prague has been gentrified, and some places are proud of the fact that they're cashless. But some of the older bars, where the woman behind the bar, she could be 30, she could be 90, still been serving pints for decades, but does not want to see a credit card, does not want to see Revolut, does not want to see you looking for the Wi-Fi code. Just tell you, have some paper money. Just bring some
have
paper
some
money.
sense about it, I suppose.
Bring some paper money.
You've been on the ground here in Prague a couple of weeks ago. Spent a few days talking to Panenka, Schmeisser, a couple of ex-Czech internationals. There's a couple of really strong, I suppose, Czech links to Ireland, even if it is their first meeting since 2012. I think I had a piece on the Irish Independence website earlier on a Tuesday, kind of personal piece about how I enjoyed. I met one of my heroes a couple of years ago in Prague before a concert, and that was the best day of my life. And I suppose all the 6,000 Irish fans here will be hoping to say the same thing come Thursday night. But Aidan, I suppose just there's no shortage of bars and Irish bars for the Irish fans to enjoy themselves in Prague, but just kind of other sights to see. I suppose most of the fans be making their way in Wednesday early afternoon as well. One fellow I was talking to, one of his buddies was getting a 18 hour bus from Amsterdam to make it in time for kickoff on Thursday. That's proper dedication. But just in terms of the other sites, like Charles Bridge is a good spot, the John Lennon Wall is a popular spot, the Old Town Square is where I suppose most of the Irish fans will congregate, but there's no shortage of sights and sounds to see to pass the
Prague
time.
is one of those cities. I've been coming here since the 90s when I was a young student, but I mean, it's one of those cities where you can't just walk around. You don't need to have a map of museums or place you need to see. It's just walking around. One thing I found fascinating, I've been reading about before I came over, the assassination of Heydrich, who was the German Nazi official in charge of Czechoslovakia after the occupation, and his assassination. What happened to his assassins after, where they held out in a crypt of an Orthodox church, where they were found, obviously they were betrayed and found by the Nazis. They're two local heroes. So the history is everywhere. Jan Palach Square. It's a city. You don't need a map of museums. Just get a good pair of shoes on, just walk around and enjoy the sight. The sun is shining, so the forecast is good. So as we keep saying, 5,000. If there is 6,000, 4,000 or 5,000 lads or women are going to go home disappointed, having not seen the game, but they'll enjoy Prague.
The countdown is really on towards Thursday. We'll have the latest build up here on the Irish Independent, exclusive pieces, and the latest from the Irish camp and the Czech camp across Wednesday. But Aidan, I suppose a lot of Irish fans, I was chatting to, and yourself as well, through our travels today, there was a real excitement. Obviously there's a big buzz, the first playoff in 9 years, but come Thursday I think it'll really sink in that it's really showtime. It's really do or die. It is, as you said, it's not like late 2001. There's not two legs. It'll either be devastation on Thursday, or we'll be looking ahead to Tuesday, I suppose.
Yeah,
are we confident?
I still think it's 50-50. I think a huge boost for the Czechs. I've spoken to us a few times on these calls and on the site, but I mean, the Czechs really do feel boosted having Pavel Schulz, who plays for Lyon. I mean, he scored 4 goals in 18 games for the Czech national team. That's more than an entire midfield. The Irish midfield, our guys, Josh Cullen, Jason Mulumby, Finn Azaz, they just don't score goals. So to have him him fit and available, I think they're a lot more upbeat. There's been a bit of controversy here today in Czech football today. There was an investigation into match fixing that didn't happen overnight. It's been going on for 2 years. But
serious timing though.
Which is it. So a number of people arrested. We don't know actually how many were arrested. 47 people, and they're quite upfront about it. 47 have been named in an indictment on the website of the police here and the Czech FA, because they're all aligned to the Czech FA. So there are current players, former players, referees, coaches, club officials. In a way, I wouldn't read too much into it, because it's a bit like if a similar thing happened in the League of Ireland, for example, would that impact the national team? Hamer Haugemson? No, not really. But in terms of a blow to the image of the Czech game, to have one current player, for example, who's playing, for a top flight team, who played internationally for them, he's only 23. 3 years ago, he was playing for the Czech under-20s, and today he's been arrested. So it's not a great image for the game, but I think they have enough on their side as well. A lot of question marks over them. Kubek, he's 74-year-old, it's his first game in charge. would Ireland have done that? Would we employed a 74-year-old to come back from spending his entire career in the domestic league to come over and take up their? This is a huge game for them. They haven't been to World Cup. Czechia are a far bigger team internationally than they were. They won the Euros in '76. They finished second in Euros in '96. They generally qualify. They haven't been to World Cup in 20 years, so there's a lot on the line for them. They feel the fact that those two players, Pavel Schulz from Lyon and Patrick Schick from Bayer Leverkusen, if they weren't here, they would be a lot weaker. But they have both of them here. They're fit. Schick scored for Bayer Leverkusen the weekend. So bringing in your two players who've scored. On the other hand, we have players in form as well. Finis Az is on very good form. Ryan Manning, Seamus Coleman. Some of the guys haven't played. They're still going to play for Ireland. I think Seamus Coleman starts.
Maybe 8 of the 11, probably 7 or 8 of the 11 probably picks itself. I suppose. We will touch on the football side of things leading closer to the match. But I think probably the only question mark is Chidozie Ogbene, match fit. He's been starved of minutes. Who plays as well? There's probably a question mark over. Is there Ryan Manning? Will Robbie Brady get his first start in a long time? But I suppose we'll be talking about the football side of things closer to kick-off.
The defence picks itself. We know that Kelleher and the three centre halves. We know that I think he will go with 3 at the back as the midfield. Does Alan Brown come in? Does Ogbene? Does Sammy Smodic? He hasn't been involved in the last couple of camps. Does he come in off the back of his form with Derby? Does he trust Ogbene? I think Seamus Coleman starts. I think that's a given. Does Ogbene? Do you put in two players between them? They played maybe half an hour, 40 minutes of football since November. Do you start with two players? But a lot of the Czechs have had good exposure in club football in the domestic league here, but also in European UEFA competitions. So there are imponderables there for Czechia as well. I mean, reports today that Souček from West Ham, suggestion on one of the websites here today that he's been told already that he's not starting,
that'd be a huge one, because looking at today, he's the most capped player in the Czech squad at the moment. I think he's 20 more caps than the next. He's
a former cap. He's an icon. He's one of their few players playing at a very high level in the Premier League. He's a huge icon. Is that linked to the issues of last year, where he was stripped of the captaincy? There was a serious dispute between the supporters and the players after a game against Gibraltar. The mood was very bad. So if you can believe that, look, we know this all the time. What's put out there and what happens, it isn't necessarily true. But it was very strong reports here today that Souček has been told he's not playing. And if that was the case, then you have Vladimir Darida, who is a bit like their David McGoldrick, except he came back. He hasn't played. He retired 5 years ago. He's come back.
Big return,
so it's that's a risk. So he's there. Seamus Coleman. He's come back to steady the ship, to get back old school values. I think we're going to see a really. I think Thursday's game is going to be a bit more like a championship game, just because of the level the players are at and so much at stake, and that manager's trusting instinct, so I think Heimer Hallgrimsson trusting Seamus Coleman and Kubek trusting Darida, the 35-year-old who's back playing in the Czech league, having been away for 5 years. If he starts, that's a big call from them in terms of what they want to cope with that atmosphere. The atmosphere is going to be intense. There's a lot on the line, because we both know lose this game and the World Cup is gone.
Well, the countdown is really on towards Thursday night's huge World Cup playoff between Czechia and Ireland. If you are already in Prague, enjoy yourself tonight and across the day. If you're making your way across Wednesday, Thursday, safe travels here. And the Irish Independent will be across all the latest build-up to Ireland's huge match on Thursday.